The next public meeting is at 6 o'clock, so we will break until 6 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll call this public meeting to order. Monday, September 30th, 6 p.m. Please note that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. Recordings will be made available on the town's YouTube channel. You ask anyone with a declaration of pecuniary interest to declare it at the appropriate time. So the purpose of this meeting, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment has been submitted by Brendan to amend the Town of Plympton-Wyoming Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 97 of 2003 by changing the zoning of the retained portion of the land from agricultural to the no dwelling agricultural zoning to accommodate a future severance of a surplus farm dwelling. The subject property, municipally known as 3981 HYSLOP line in the Town of Plympton-Wyoming, is undergoing the process of severing a surplus farm property dwelling. As part of the surplus farm dwelling process outlined in section 2.12E of the Town of Plympton-Wyoming official plan, the zoning for the retained parcel of farmland must prohibit in perpetuity any new residential uses to ensure the retained farmland continues to be used for agricultural purposes. Change to the no dwelling agricultural zoning meets this requirement. So I should introduce everyone, but I think everybody's got their name in front of them, except Maria Kosarasi, who is the planner, and mine is not Gary, it's Nettie McEwen. Okay, Gary's indisposed tonight, so I have to sit here instead. The official notice mailed to neighboring property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands on September 6, 2024, and posted on site and emailed to the required agency on September 5. Is that correct, Mr. McKenzie, Bear?
Can confirm the notification process, yes.
Thank you. So we would like a summary of the planning report.
Thank you. So planning staff have reviewed this application in accordance with the legislation, planning policies and regulations. And as staff are recommending approval of the bylaw to rezone the subject property from the agricultural 1 to the no dwelling agricultural zone pending following conditions. One, that the applicant completes a consent application for submit 2.4 acres containing the dwelling located on the subject lands. That a septic system maintained, new septic system be installed, which include required inspections, and that the septic system be located, be included on a survey plotted on a copy by the owner and provided to the building department for their file. Also, that the applicant undergoes a change of use permit for the agricultural storage shed that's on the proposed severed parcel at the time of the consent application to reflect a residential garage. There is one additional condition that is being recommended to be added just to provide additional clarity for all parties, and that is that the zoning is to revert back to the agricultural 1 in the event the conditions of an approved consent application are not completed within the legislated timeframe and the consent approval lapses.
What is the legislative?
It's 2 years.
2 years, yes.
Yes, the consent conditions expire after 2 years.
Thank you.
I can provide some additional detail. We have provided in the planning report is a chart to go over the various requirements, just to indicate whether those have been met in terms of our analysis of the application. So in terms of the zoning, the policies prohibit any new residential use on the retained parcel of farmland created by the severance. And to ensure that the parcel continues to be used for agricultural purposes. So the rezoning or the approval of the rezoning will address this specific provision. The size of any new lot to be determined and completed by a qualified to determine the size basically for the septic system. So the sewage assessment has been completed by staff, and part of the conditions that are listed in this recommendation cover off the requirement for the septic. Then there is the consolidation requirement that has also been provided by the applicants, a list of farms that they own, and they have been confirmed to have a consolidation of farms that are located within the town. The new lot is located to minimize the impact on the remaining farm operations, so the residential lot that's being proposed minimize the amount of farmland that's taken out the agricultural operation, and that the new lot complies with minimum distance separation. So the information that has been provided and the calculations generated indicate that it is in compliance. The application was also circulated to the required agencies under the Planning Act, Conservation Authority, sorry, apologies. Yes, the Conservation Authority noted that the severed lot is outside of the regulated area, so at this time they don't have any concerns. Public Works for the town and County Public Works did not have any concerns. Building Services did list some, they are supportive of the application. Some of the information that they've listed, such as the change of use permit's been captured in the conditions. And the septic concerns have also been captured in the conditions. So overall, planning supports the approval of this bylaw.
Thank you. The applicant would like to make any presentation?
No, I don't have a presentation and I really have nothing more to add than what Maria read here.
Okay. Is there any correspondence in response to this notice?
We did not receive any correspondence with regards to that application.
Are there any questions from council? Ms. Rodriguez?
In the report, it didn't know the size of the accessory dwelling that's being converted. I guess my question really is, in general, normally it's 2 acres surplus, the minimum. This one is allowing 2.4. And is that, so I'm assuming because it's got that accessory that requires a little bit more land. I'm not opposed to any of it. I'm just
Yeah, so the proposal that I submitted, and I'm not averse to changing it. I just proposed it exactly the footprint of how the lot is right now. So I basically just took the existing laneway, the existing lawn, the garage, and exactly how it is right now.
okay, so its current use is
Yes.
2.4 acres aren't currently being used for agriculture. So if there were 3.5 or 4 acres, my question to you, Maria. A current layout was 3.5 or 4 acres of land that also was currently not being used. Would that be considered as well?
It is something that we would look at, we would look at all those variables. I'm just pulling up the table because there is, in terms of the severed parcel, there is in the zoning a stipulated amount or maximum that it can go to. But in terms of the plan being zoned, that does comply with the minimum lot size requirement.
Right, so I guess that's where I was, when I was looking at policies, I didn't see a maximum, I do see a minimum of 2 is the preferred, I believe, because of septic. But there, I never found a maximum, so I was just saying if somebody had a large, their farmland, wasn't being used for farmland, and it could be more than 2.4, that would also be considered as more what I was looking for clarification on.
We would look at that. The preference is to keep it to, the maximum. So, for single detached, it would be 0.8 hectares minimum, 0.4 minimum where connected to municipal sewer, and then 1 hectare maximum. So I can always double check my numbers here, but, so the 2.47 is actually just below the 1 hectare is 0.99. So that's why there were no concerns.
So there is a maximum.
There is a maximum in the rate.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Wolf?
Just, I didn't quite hear what you were saying at the end about MDS, minimum distance setbacks. That's all been explained carefully.
Yes, the minimum distance separation, the information that was submitted, the calculations generated indicated that it complied with the minimum distance separation calculations.
In farm consolidation, that was explained very clearly. You mentioned that.
Yes, so what we are asking applicants to submit to us is a list of the farms that they own in the municipality. They can list the ones that they own outside the municipality as well, but our policies are specific that at least two have to be located within the town of Plympton-Wyoming. So they have done that, and then we verify the information. We go over all of that with the applicants, but that is a standard practice where we ask for a list.
This is a good fit for our community. We've been fighting this for a long time to get this kind of approval for farm severances, so it's good. Congratulations.
Anyone else? Council? Mr. Coutier, you wanted to have a.
Yes, I guess I'm just I'm certainly not opposed to it. I just want confirmation on the MDS. We own a farm that's 2 farms over. We have a poultry operation there. We want to make sure that this new lot is not going to prohibit us from expanding that operation, I guess, based on current MDS laws.
So, through your worship, at this point in time, the application before us is the MDS calculations that have been submitted are based on the MDS 1. In terms of a livestock operation, those would be MDS 2 calculations, and those would be based on your numbers at that time, based on the expansion, your current number of livestock, and your proposed increased, and the location of your barns and manure pits. So there is a possibility when you go to expand that this new severed could impact your MDS numbers, and so you would need to address that at that time, go over it with you at that time when you submit. But we have no way of knowing today without a proposal from you to really fully understand what impact specifically it would have on your operation. If there is a potential that it could impact your operation.
Could you explain that MDS 1 and MDS 2 again one more time? That you said MDS 1 is now currently.
It's for their specific severance. So we would be looking at minimum distance separation, 2 numbers for your livestock operation. So the minimum distance separation has various categories, and you fall into the MDS 2. Because you're a livestock operator, so expanding and would have an impact, a greater impact on more sensitive uses, which would be considered the residential use. Whereas the MDS 1 in terms of the severance doesn't have the same type of impact.
So just so I'm clear then, so by them creating a new residential lot, that's super. So you're saying that if we were to build another barn, we have more impact on that house than the house has on us, or is that, am I understanding that right? Or?
You would have an impact on that severed dwelling, yes. But we have no way of knowing, I have no way of knowing today. I can't make an assessment today.
Okay.
Because I don't know what it is that you're proposing. I don't know, I can't assess what impact your expansion will have in the area.
What would I do, or what could I, this is all, we're talking about this and discussing this now, is it, so can I submit something over the next 30 days to see how that impacts and then write something in, or is it?
Through your worship.
Go ahead.
The application before a council today is their application,
Right.
their request.
Okay.
So,
Oh.
it would be after the fact. There may not, so at this point in time, this would be your opportunity to provide your comments.
Okay.
But I think it's difficult for staff to really provide you with a firm answer because we don't know what it is that you're proposing.
Fair enough.
And there may be an impact and there may not be, so.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez, you had another question?
Yeah, thank you, based on that. So if the house wasn't deemed surplus and was still existing on a agricultural practice, would MDS not apply then for him expanding his livestock operations? And is there any other residential homes in the area that would have to be considered as well, not just this one?
Your worship. So, to answer the first part, MDS is applicable no matter whether it's a severance or an expansion of a livestock operation. So it's based on a number of different factors. So it's based on the number of livestock, it's based on the location, so all those things. So, and I'm sorry,
So what I meant by that first question was whether this is deemed a surplus or stayed as part of the whole parcel, MDS would be affected regardless of it being a surplus or,
correct,
so it doesn't matter.
correct. However, again, through your worship, there is an impact. They each have a different level of impact, so I just can't make an assessment today because I don't.
Okay, Mr. Belgian, you had a question too?
Thanks. Sorry, I might be the only one, but that just made me even more confused. So if,
It did.
so right now, if you wanted to make barn expand its operation,
Yes.
if it wasn't, if this application wasn't in front of us and didn't get approved and it was not deemed surplus, would the MDS be shorter or longer or impacted at all? If you wanted to expand before this happened? And would it have to be, it could be closer because this hadn't happened yet?
Potentially, yes.
Okay, so I guess my question for argument's sake is if he has an expansion plan in mind and he submitted an expansion plan before this appeal period ended, would that supersede the new MDS rules that would come in
Through your,
once this goes through?
through your worship, no, the application before council today is this one. So, there be an assessment even during appeal period. That doesn't change staff's recommendation. Is that the question that you're asking?
No, I'm more so asking it just on his behalf, whether he was thinking it or not, but like if he had an expansion ready to go and now he's thinking once this happens in 20 days when the appeal period's over, now his MDS is longer. If he gets an application in to try to expedite this expansion, knowing that MDS could impact where he puts a new barn. If he starts that process now, next week, does that make a difference or will he be abiding by the new MDS of this new lot once it's rezoned?
You would have to, through your worship again, so if this application is approved this evening and then this gentleman submits an application to expand his livestock operation, he would have to look at that. The MDS would be based on the separate parcel.
Okay, Mr. Vacy, I heard he's online and he wanted to have a question.
Yes, I'm just looking at the map. Is this gentleman at 4077? Is that,
6575 Kamlaki Road.
okay, you're the other way. Okay, thank you.
Right here. Yep.
Can I make
That's all.
Oh,
I've got, 'cause
Is that all? Mr. Vacy? Mr. Vacy, is that all your question?
Yeah, I was just, if he was the other way, he's got two other houses to contend with anyway,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we don't have that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You wanted to respond to that? Mr. Kutsia or not?
If I may, yes, I think the two of you are probably clarifying. My real question is, does this double the impact of what we could do? Yeah, I guess that's really what I'm wondering.
I don't think it doubles it, but.
Well, whatever, sorry, it makes it greater anyways, and it does make it more significant.
Your worship, it's just not really a question that we can answer at this time because we don't have enough information to make that assessment.
Because this is gonna affect many surplus farm dwellings moving forward. I guess the question is realistically. A house as part of a farm, is it looked at differently under MDS differently than a house that is on a parcel by itself and not?
That was my.
Yes.
So under MDS, there's different qualifications for that. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Van Claveren, you had a question.
Yeah, just to clarify for myself also, it's the MDS for this residential, soon to be potentially residential lot. To the setbacks. Did they take into account this poultry operation to begin with? Okay, and if Mr. Coetzee were to apply, those distances would be shortened or lengthened rather. Is that what I'm understanding? Yeah, potentially.
Actually,
The MDS that we did on this, so I don't know if you guys have the map, it was in the package. So the MDS, it's the minimum distance the new lot has to be away from the barn is 600 feet. Right now I'm 1,600 feet. I'm 2.5 times. This is like in perspective, this is 2 farms over. So this isn't even in the realm, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. Like, even if Jack wanted to double his barn, like, that's not gonna even double the MDS, is it, Maria? Like,
unfortunately, I can't answer the
no, that's
question.
fair enough.
I don't want to guess or speculate.
No, that's fine.
It's potentially yes, potentially no. So I really can't answer that question.
Challenge with MDS is, those here probably know, it's not a straightforward calculation. It depends on what's in the barn and volume of it, so.
Yep.
I wouldn't want Maria to provide an opinion without looking at the proposal, because that could.
No, that's fine. I just thought I'd clarify that a little bit. Like, we're not, if it's 600 feet, we're not talking that I'm like 610 feet. We're 2.5 times the minimum distance here.
Mr. Van
I
Claveren.
thought I'd just make a comment on that.
Well, that was helpful.
Adam might have answered my question.
Oh, so you don't need to ask anything.
Well, although he may not have. So this calculation, if Mr. Coetzee chooses to expand and he puts his barns to the west of his existing barns, like, are the existing barns calculated into, or is it just the new portion he would add on? Is that something that could be answered? Like,
Your worship, so we would be looking at the whole picture, right? So everything, but obviously the location of the new barns so it would be, we would look at what's existing and what's being proposed. And then once we input that information into the AgriSuite program, it will generate, based on the factors of distance and numbers of livestock, it will generate a distance for us. That will tell us this needs to be the minimum distance that needs to be met in between. So it's a cumulative number that's looked at. So obviously the existing is there, so you can't change that. But if you're going to increase the numbers, depending on, and sometimes it's just a matter of, there's been situations where this has come up where maybe the barn just needs to be put a little further back or a little bit. So there could be modifications that way, but without looking at the numbers, we really can't make that determination. It's not something easy that can be answered today. And this particular application that we have before us today, we were very comfortable with the MDS numbers that were provided in the proposed location of the severed parcel. So that's why we provide the chart, just to indicate where everything's been.
Thank you, Marie. So we probably had enough discussion on this, no outstanding questions. Moved by Mr. Wolbert, seconded by Mr. Van Claveren, that the report by Randy Group Planner and Maria Rossi, Senior Planner, dated September 18, 2024, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application 114 of 2024, affecting lands municipally known as 3981 HYSLOP line, be received. Everyone in favor? Carried. So the zoning bylaw amendment, right?
Me?
Yeah.
You want to speak to the,
You want me to?
So there's the condition that,
Be amended, yeah.
she requested to be amended.
Yeah.
So, I can put it on here or I can read it. If council's okay with it, we will amend the motion. Councilor Rodriguez and Councilor Bojan moved and seconded.
Yes,
Want me to write it?
well, can I read your rating?
I
That's
don't
the only
know.
thing with you.
It's right here.
That's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be
number
condition five.
That- Oh, okay,
Condition.
so it's not just a few words, okay.
No.
Yep, all right.
Now you can read my writing.
Yeah, I'll be able to read it.
Sorry, give me a second here.
So, Mr. Do you have names of everyone here that are interested in this? You got them all? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just two for this one, so.
Well, I'm Mr. Kutsir.
Yeah, there's
Mr.
nine.
Zanting,
There's some,
okay. Anybody else?
Mr. Zanting's here for,
But he's here also listening and taking notes on this one, so he like.
Do we have a sign-in sheet?
Sorry.
I don't know.
sign in sheet up front.
So anyone, please make sure that you sign in if you wanted to continue to be contacted in regards to the matter that council's hearing today. Please ensure you sign in on the sign-in sheet and reference which public meeting you're here in regard. Thank you.
I don't always do this, okay?
So you're doing great.
Longer.
If I had a quick question, could I sneak it in?
Why not?
If someone was wanting to appeal. What would be the steps?
I'm
To that.
I'm going to read that after
You
we
are?
finish with this. Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect.
So moved by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Bougen. The zoning bylaw amendment 114 of 2024 being a bylaw to own the lands legally known as concession 8 East Part Lot 10 and municipally known as 3981 HYSLOP line from agricultural 1 to no dwelling agriculture be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign said bylaw accordingly, subject to the following conditions. The applicant completes a consent application for an approximate 2.4 acres containing the dwelling located on the subject lands. That a septic system permit be obtained and a new septic system be installed, which includes all required inspections. That the septic system location be included on the survey, plotted on a copy by owner, and a copy provided back to the county building services department for the property files. That the applicant undergoes a change of use permit for the agricultural storage shed on the proposed severed parcel at the time of the consent application to reflect a residential garage. Means there's no socket. Number 5, that the zoning should revert back to agricultural lot in the event the conditions of an approved consent application are not completed in the legislated time frame and the consent approval lapses. Is everyone in favor? Carried, thank you. So the applicant, the registered owner of the land, the minister, and a specified person or public body who made verbal presentations at a public meeting or provided written correspondence before a decision was made regarding the bylaw may appeal the council's decision of a zoning bylaw amendment to the OLT Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days from the date of the notice of the decision of the bylaw is given. Is that understood, everyone? Moved by Mr. Van Claveren, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez, that the public meeting be adjourned. Everyone in favor? Carried. So concludes this public meeting. Got how many minutes till the next one?
15 seconds if you want things out.
No rest for the wicked here.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You have a good night.
There you go. That one.
Okay, so this meeting will come to order, this planning public meeting of September 30th, Monday. And the meeting, please note that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. Recordings will be available on the town's YouTube channel. Request anyone with a declaration of pecuniary interest to declare it at the appropriate time. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment has been submitted by Burn is Home Incorporated to amend the town of Plympton-Wyoming comprehensive zoning bylaw 97 of 2003 by changing the zoning of the land from the residential 5 to central commercial zoning to permit the redevelopment of a residential dwelling into a retail/office space. We're all have our names in front of us. I want to introduce everyone except Maria. She hasn't got her name. Mackenzie Baird, he's our technician. Aren't you a technician? So, what do we got? Mr. Mackenzie Baird. Could you confirm that the notification process has been followed appropriately?
Your worship, the notification process has been completed.
Thank you. So official notice mailed to neighboring property owners within 120 meters of the subject land 6 and posted on site and emailed to required agencies on September the 5th. So Maria, could you give us a summary of the planning report?
Yes. So staff have reviewed the application and are recommending approval to rezone the subject property from the residential 5 to the central commercial C1 zone. The proposed rezoning is compatible with the existing county and town official plan designations and will extend the existing commercial corridor in the hamlet of Kamlaki and while preserving the current structures located on the lot. Should the zoning bylaw application be approved by council, the applicant will need to undergo a site plan amendment application, which and a change of use permit for the existing dwelling as accessory structure. And this has already all been discussed with the applicant as well. So a traffic impact brief was also provided and it indicated that the proposed development will not adversely affect area traffic operations. And that was also part of one of the requirements that we would have been required with the site plan process. So that was already submitted by the applicant. It's important to address that for the zoning bylaw amendment application as well. So the application was circulated to the required agencies. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority had no concerns. Building Services of the county is also supportive of the application and just provided some advisory notes related to site plan review and Ontario Building Code requirements like the building matrix, the change of use drawings packages. All this has been previously communicated with, so they're fully aware of the subsequent process. So staff are recommending approval of the rezoning. They are a long-standing business in the area. They currently are located about 300 meters from this corner lot. And they're looking for a bigger building to accommodate their growing business and some other planned activities, I believe. So.
Is there any correspondence, Mr. Baird?
We have a presentation from the applicant just before correspondence.
Yes, of course.
I was just updated at like 4. Wouldn't be on your lead sheet right now.
Okay, would the applicant like to give us a presentation?
Very nervously. Okay. Hello, my name is Justine and this is my husband Kyle. Together, we are the owners of Here on His Home Inc., which is our property holding company. We are also the owners of Lake Life Studio. a retail art boutique that has been successfully operating at 3811 Lakeshore Road for the last 9 years. We are here before you tonight to present to you our dream. And that is moving our small business from its current location, which is 300 meters down the road of the subject property, 3828 Egremont Road. We are here tonight to request a zoning bylaw amendment. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our business. So Lake Life Studio embodies the lake lifestyle that so many of us here in Kamlaki live and love. The boutique operates as my glass studio where I create, teach, and sell my work, along with showcasing the work of over 30 local artists and entrepreneurs. The boutique is also the hub of our apparel line, which over the last several years has gained the support of many community members, near and far. On the outside, we are a retail store, a gift shop, but in reality, we are so much more than that. We work with and support many small businesses in our area. We curate several campaigns throughout the year that gives back to organizations close to our hearts. We host beach cleanups and other collaborative environmental efforts. We promote art and culture to our customers and our community by teaching workshops and providing a space where people can experience art, which ultimately leads to a happy and healthy community. Our boutique offers a warm and inviting space where locals do their shopping and where tourists stop to bring home something special that reminds them of their wonderful visit to our shoreline town. So why do we want to move? Truthfully, we have outgrown our space. We did years ago and have been on the lookout for something in Kamlaki for quite some time now. And when 3828 Egremont came for sale earlier this year, we both knew it would be the perfect location for us to grow and continue to serve our community. Having this chance to expand our small business will help us meet our new goals, which is to obtain more retail and workshop space, which will allow us to work with even more small businesses and to bring more products to residents. This will also result in the need for more staff members, which will create more job opportunity. We cherish our small town. Our business is built on that feeling. We were both born and raised here in Lambton County, and that small town vibe is why we chose to stay and raise our own young family here. So our goal after obtaining this zoning change is to preserve that cherished feeling. We will not be tearing down the 100-year-old house or iconic red barn. We plan to renovate the house into our new retail space and keeping the red barn as a maintenance storage. Our goal is not to modernize or try fixing what's not broken, but to simply innovate and improve. So there's been quite a lot of change in Kamlaki over the last few years, mostly in the realm of residential. New homes and neighborhoods have been built, sidewalks have been created in the downtown sector, improvements have been made to the local public school. The town is indeed progressing and certainly growing. However, not much change has happened in regards to commercial opportunity. Can we do the next slide, Mackenzie? Thank you. We truly do believe that converting this corner lot into commercial will make sense for our town. It will complement the commercial stretch that already exists on Lakeshore. Beginning at the intersection of Kamlaki Road and Lakeshore is the United Church. Next is the Community Hall and Ball Diamonds, followed by our current location, which is beside the Kamlaki Food Mart and LCBO, which neighbors that East Link building, and across the street from Sawmill Creek Golf Course. The zoning change will ostensibly close out that loop on Lakeshore Road. We are not a new business. Like I said earlier, we have been successfully operating since 2015. And during this time, we have received 0 complaints, only compliments for establishing community pride and representation through our brand, and for maintaining a charming and colorful exterior that puts a smile on those driving or walking by our storefront. And we plan on amplifying this curb appeal at our new location. You can see there are the renderings of what we plan to do cosmetically to the house. So when driving into Kamlaki northbound on County Road 7, the first thing you will see after entering the 50 speed zone will be Lake Life Studio. Our intention is to create a beautiful, welcoming atmosphere that our residents are proud of and that visitors are welcomed by. A positive community impact that will last for years to come. Okay, so now that we've explained what positive impact the ZBA will have on our business and our community, I'm sure you're all interested on what the impact will have logistically. So for traffic, like Maria said, we had a traffic impact brief completed in August by RC Spencer Consulting Engineers, which stated that based on the results of the technical work, it is in the engineer's opinion that the proposed development will not adversely impact the traffic area operations. Parking. Below is our basic parking lot drawing. Our application indicates we have proposed our driveway off of Egremont that will flow into our parking lot. We are currently working with Burkhart Gilchrist Architects and BM Ross Engineers on our official site plan that will comply with all drainage, lighting, and signage requirements of the town. We look forward to submitting that as soon as possible. And that was also stated with the conservation area. They saw that there were no concerns with the proposed development. Okay, so in conclusion to our presentation, I would just like to reference an article written in the New Business Magazine from November 2023. These are direct quotes from Chief Administrative Officer Adam and Mayor Gary Atkinson. Adam says in the article, our Kanlaki and Lakeside areas have been growing rapidly. There's a high density of residential homes in that area now. We feel that it is an opportunity for some community-based commercial businesses in that area, and to promote businesses to set up here to better serve our residents. Gary added, that's a priority that we feel very passionate about. We are lacking a lot in that area, and we owe it to our residents there because it has developed so quickly in the last 10 years. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions?
First of all, great presentation. No need to be nervous. No notes. You hit everything on the head. I just have one clarification question.
Yeah.
The building looks great. I think it'll be a huge asset on that corner. Is there going to be any, for Maria, is there any concern with where that parking lot's going? And like, is there a setback requirement on that lot line? Or are they?
We, through your worship, so the site plan process will look at parking and access to the site. So we have provided the applicants with some guidelines to look at. So once we have a full set of drawings, then we will be working with them collectively, not just planning, but a number of departments to address those concerns.
And that's all I had. Thanks again.
Great, thank you.
Question, Mr. Wolford?
Well, I would just comment that this is a good fit for Kamlaki. It's certainly what this council was requested to do during the election campaign. More commercial space in Kamlaki area, more development. So I think this fits in very well. So we'll see what happens here in a few minutes, but I certainly support your endeavor.
Any question, Ms. Rodriguez?
No, excellent. Yay.
Thank you.
Very excited. Well, it pretty much is it. Excellent. Yay. I'm very happy for you. It is kind of important when a small business can own the property they're on. It helps them be more sustainable and not be reliant, and it can be very cost prohibitive when you're renting.
Yes.
So, knowing that and having experience in that, I'm happy that you're able to find this to be able to.
Yeah, thank you. Just to ensure the lifespan of the business. Yeah.
So kudos. Yay.
Just comment too, I think if there's anything I encourage our residents when they make an appeal like this is to put together a concise package presentation with images and the points needed to answer all our questions. Yeah, go for it. I think it checks all the boxes for Kanlaki and hopefully it attracts others.
Agreed. Yeah.
See.
Agreed.
You bet.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would like to make a comment that I have a concern about the traffic that close to Lakeshore Road and, you know, the access point. But if that's going to be allowed for, there's going to be a lot more traffic going into that laneway. So I just wonder if it's sensible to, like, traffic study, who did that?
RC
Well, it wasn't a
Spencer.
traffic study, but it was comments at least. What?
It was a full-on traffic study. Yeah, we have a whole 14-page report
okay.
that we sent in the package.
It was
Yeah.
actual-
Oh, yeah.
And They support this
Oh,
commercial?
yeah, they sent the package over to everybody and it states continuously that it won't be an issue. We've been operating for 10 years already. Yeah, so it's not like so much brand new customers, right?
You live there too? No, just, okay.
In the Red Barn, maybe some nights.
Miss Marie.
Just your worship, I'd just like to offer a point of clarification. It's actually a traffic brief that was
Oh, I-
completed. So,
Isn't quite as full,
it was determined at the staff level that a brief would be sufficient.
because it looked like your driveway is gonna be closer, like it's gonna be widened, is it? Then closer to Lakeshore Road?
It's, I don't know the distance exactly, but ahead of the
So
current
what
driveway.
we did put a full package together and the county had a look at
Yeah.
it for Lakeshore Road access as well.
Oh, yeah.
And also Egremont, and we asked for 2 accesses off Egremont, existing that goes back to the barn. So for large deliveries and storage and stuff, we can have trucks go in and out and have the staff parking over there. And then we asked for a second driveway that would flow into our parking lot. And we're gonna keep that as far back from Lakeshore intersection as possible with maintaining the large trees on the property and try to maintain.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you keep the one access for everything?
Well, we're
We-
trying to establish some green space on
Yeah.
that side of the property closer to the immediate neighbors, the residents. We would rather have the parking lot on the Lakeshore side.
Right, we felt that the parking lot made more sense to keep it on Lakeshore, kind of like in mirror with the liquor store and same with like our current.
I don't care where the parking lot is, it's the access that.
Right.
It gets back to the green space, because then you'd have to have 2 vehicles wide from one far side of your property all the way to the other side of the property, so it would just all be parking lot. We're trying to maintain as much green space as possible.
No, I'll be over. Don't worry. Yeah.
It wasn't the final drawing, that was,
Because there's been a number of reiterations, so I just wanted to council's attention to that.
Several.
Might not be built in the site plan.
Yeah, the site that can be changed, it's not certain. Yeah, that can be changed,
yeah, we're still.
Yes, of course, but I just still wanted to bring it up now.
for sure.
Yes, yes, count, yes.
Please say something.
You are going to be allowed to speak. Yes, ma'am. So, okay, is that then no more questions from council, right? Next, we'll have presentations from the members of the public.
Does that mean we go away now?
Yeah, you could, no, you can't go away.
No, we're not leaving.
More questions?
I just have a concern.
Yes, certainly.
We live very close to Lakeshore and Egremont, and we find the traffic absolutely crazy now. They go around the bend, not at 50. They go probably 80, as you well know, and there's another subdivision that is going to be houses eventually on the other side of Lakeshore, so there's more traffic. And even between Egremont and Kamlaki Side Road, it's getting crazy. It's not 50 like it should be, it's 80. Trucks, everything. So I love the business, don't get me wrong. I'm just really concerned about the traffic. Because we have to go in and out and it's really busy just trying to get on Lakeshore from Egremont, whether you go right or left. It's very busy right now. So that's my concern.
Okay. Would you state your name for?
Yeah, Chris Johnson.
I'm Shane Gerson.
Oh, just need one name, sorry, just your address.
Chris Johnson, 3847 Egremont Road.
Thank you for the record. Thank you.
Didn't know your number off. by heart.
That's okay.
Any other members of the public who want a presentation? Daniel, this is the first time I've heard you so quiet. They're my neighbors, so it's fine. All right, so.
Say the same.
Further questions or comments from council members or members of any further of anything or? So, written by John, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez, that the report by Randy Burke, planner, and Maria Costa-Rossi, senior planner, dated September 18, 2024, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application 115 of 2024, affecting lands known as 3828 Egremont Road, submitted by Huron is Home Incorporated, be received. Ready in favor? Carried. Moved by Bob Wilbett, seconded by John Van Claveren, that zoning bylaw amendment 115 of 2024, being a bylaw to rezone the lands legally described as concession 9, North Part Lot 9, and municipally known as 3828 Egremont Road from residential 5 to central commercial 1, be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Everyone in favor? Carried. The applicant, the registered owner of the land, the minister, and a specified person or public body who made verbal presentations at a public meeting or provided written correspondence before a decision was made regarding the bylaw may appeal the council's decision of a zoning bylaw amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days from the date the notice of the decision of the bylaw is given. Everybody heard that? Moved by John Van Claveren, seconded by Bob Wilbett, that the public meeting be adjourned. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so that ends that public meeting. If this all goes through, there will be like a site plan and everything, so. Right, and this traffic will be looked at a little more in depth. Will it?
It's part of, well, it was requested for the zoning because it's an important component, but it is part of the, it will be part of the site plan requirement as well, and that's why the applicants did it.
Please note that it's extremely busy corner, okay?
It will be, the site plan will go through a number of different departments, including planning, so it will be assessed by a number of departments.
And it'll be going to the county and to the road department here.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. So, next, I think that's done. So now we're going to go back to our planning meeting. Do we need a break? Does anybody need a break? You do? Yeah. Sure do. I guess we're gonna have a 10-minute break. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh.
The robots are talking to you.
She never sat at home.
Gotcha.
That's terrible.
Now we just
Beside me.
both ways.
Okay. We're coming back to our regular planning meeting now, and we have a report from our planner, Maria Kosarasi, about the 2024 provincial planning statement. And that the information report by Maria. Where are we here? Oh, okay. You read that after she's given her report, right?
So you can read it. Maybe just
Okay.
let them know you're moving 7.1 up.
Moving another subject matter, moving it up quicker because it's lost a little bit of time and Maria wants to get home in a hurry and not. Provincial planning statement. Have you got a report, Maria? I'm not reading to left.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the report before you today is an information report which provides an overview of the 2024 provincial planning statement, which was released on August the 20th and comes into effect on October the 20th of this year. So the report just outlines the key changes from the 2020 provincial policy statement. Notably, the first thing that I'd like to mention is that there has been a name change. The same initials apply, PPS. However, we're going from the provincial policy statement now to the provincial planning statement. There have been a number of changes in format and some policy consolidation in this new PDS. One of the other things that this PPS also does, it consolidates and replaces the a place to grow the growth plan for the greater Golden Horseshoe 2019. This plan does not apply in the county of Lambton, but it's always good to preface that that level of consolidation has been done. So effective October 2024, whether there are changes that may be needed to official plans, and if those changes haven't been made or those amendments haven't been made, all planning decisions and by staff and all levels of whether it's council, committee of adjustment, even the county as approval authority for most for local plans and most plans of subdivision and the OLT, they have to be consistent with this new 2024 PPS. So municipalities no longer need to plan specific population and employment targets for a horizon year. However, municipalities will be required to supply enough designated land to meet projected population needs for a minimum of 20 years to a maximum of 30 years. That's a change. It was previously 25 years. So now we're looking at a minimum of 20 years to a max of 30 years. However, planning for infrastructure and public service facilities and strategic growth areas, including employment areas, those may exceed the 30-year horizon. Excuse me. The Ministry of Finance projections are to be used for growth forecasting. However, municipalities may now modify these projections with their own local projections. Currently, the Ministry of Finance the projections only extend to 2026 and are only provided at the upper tier level. So housing remains a focal point, or the focus actually, of a number of these changes. So increasing housing variety, land designation for urban use, targets for affordable to low and moderate income households. There's now a definition of affordable housing, and low to moderate income households are based on an average sale price and market rent at the municipal rather than the regional level. So this will align with other legislation that has been recently enacted as well, so that there is conformity across the board with this definition. There's also some flexibility that's been introduced with some new definitions for various housing types. So criteria for expanding settlement boundaries are now more flexible with a streamlined process, no longer requiring the mandatory municipal comprehensive reviews. And expansions to settlement areas may be considered at any time through official plan amendments as long as it meets certain criteria. So that evaluation or that criteria is based on consideration of need, infrastructure and public service facility availability and plan capacity, phasing, avoiding prime agricultural areas, or evaluation of alternative locations. A compliance with MDS remains, and for agricultural areas, there is an agricultural impact assessment or analysis that will be required. 2024 encourages municipalities to identify areas for strategic growth within which to focus growth and encourage intensification, mixed uses, compact farm, and public investment. So their definition of strategic growth areas, it could include downtowns, major transit station areas, which doesn't apply here. However, we're just pulling, this information is just coming out of the PPS. So just, it's a little bit more expansive, basically with all this included. And municipalities could choose to also identify brownfields and underutilized commercial areas along these routes. So there is, discussion in the PPS about looking at, vacant commercial lands or other underutilized lands for conversion. So in terms of density and intensification, upper tiers are required now to identify the strategic growth areas and density targets in consultation with member municipalities. Municipalities in turn are to establish and maintain minimum density targets for infill and redevelopment in built-up areas. So zoning bylaws are very important in this regard. So the recommendation there is that they be regularly updated to address minimum density, height, and other standards. Definition of employment areas is narrowed to focus more on industrial and research uses with additional protections against conflicting land uses. Removal of employment lands for conversion to other uses subject to criteria that ensures that sufficient employment lands are available to accommodate that projected employment growth. Conversion to non-employment uses no longer requires that municipal comprehensive review. So there is a little bit more relaxing there. Of note is development within 300 meters of employment areas shall avoid or mitigate potential impacts on the long-term economic viability of employment uses. So in terms of prime agricultural areas, there's been additional clarification from the 2020 PPS. The language is more restrictive in 2024, but in consultation with the ministry, both in writing and verbally through telephone discussions, the change has been made because it was, even in 2020, was meant to be more restrictive, but that was not the interpretation that was taken. So now there has been a very restrictive language placed in the 2024 PPS. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but I just wanted to introduce that concept there now. There is a little bit more of a flexible approach to allow the removal of land from private agricultural areas for new or expanding settlement areas, provided that there is an agricultural impact assessment that's completed to identify potential impacts and recommend avoidance and mitigation measures. So protection of agricultural land base remains a priority. However, the evaluation has to be reviewed now from an agricultural system and agri-food network approach. And there's going to be some provincial guidance documents that will be released by the province. It's our understanding that they are working on them now. So I know this is very sort of general, but they are working on some more substantive documents that they're terming guidance documents. So they will provide us with more direction on what those assessments and the analysis that needs to be undertaken. So the province has abandoned the proposal from their earlier April 2023 draft that would have allowed for up to 3 residential severances from a farm parcel. New residential lot creation continues to be prohibited, except a municipality may permit a residence surplus to an agricultural operation, subject to criteria including continued compliance with MDS. The clarification that has been provided in the 2024 PPS is to limit the number to only 1 new residential lot per farm consolidation. So this has generated a lot of discussion, hence why staff contacted the ministry directly for this clarification. And the clarification was provided in writing, and staff did follow up also verbally, just to ensure that that was the intent of this new direction. And so ministry staff has expressed this is not a new direction. This was always the intent of the 2020. It's just that the language has now been changed to one and per farm consolidation to ensure that the interpretation is one where it's restricted. In addition to the principal farm dwelling, up to 2 additional residential units are permitted, provided not more than 1 additional residential unit is permitted in a detached structure. So these need to be limited in scale and are in addition to the farm worker housing, which is already a permitted agricultural use. And they may be located in close proximity to the comply with MDS. In staff's opinion, the additional residential units cannot be severed individually. They must, however, be severed together with the main dwelling per the definition of the residence surplus to an agricultural operation. The protection afforded to specialty crop areas in the 2020 PPS is reduced in the 2024. This is evident in the context of urban settlement expansions, locating non-agricultural uses in agricultural areas and also the aggregate resource operations. So there is a new definition that has been introduced in the PPS, and it's near urban agriculture. So the PPS states that it's encouraged, municipalities are encouraged to support near urban and urban agriculture. So the definition of urban agriculture includes commercial production, and although it emphasizes non-livestock agriculture, urban livestock is not prohibited, but the definition of new urban agriculture is undefined. Now, although there may be this, I think one of the items in November, there is a workshop that's being held at the ministry for staff. So we have a number of questions and clarification that we're looking for in some of these areas. That the PPS has just not provided sufficient direction for staff to be able to address. So the definition of on-farm diversified uses now includes electricity generation, transmission, and storage. So there has been in recent years some additional discussion in these areas. So there is now reference to it in the PPS. So PPS continues to promote the efficient use and optimization of existing municipal and private communal sewage and water services, allocation and reallocation of unused municipal sewage and water servicing capacity, if necessary, needs to be considered in meeting the needs for increased housing supply. New development in rural areas, settlement areas may be permitted on partial services where individual on-site water services are combined with municipal sewage or private communal sewage services. We're looking for clarification from the ministry on this as to when and under what circumstances private and partial servicing is permitted. Some additional new definitions for energy storage systems and low impact development are also included. We're almost done. It is a lot of information, so I'm trying to summarize it as best as I can. Cultural heritage and archaeology resources should be identified early in the planning process. This is something that the county has and most of our municipalities have done for a long time, is we attempt to identify these fairly early in the process. There is an emphasis in the PPS for municipalities collaborating with a number of other groups. So service managers for land use planning and planning for housing. So this term is undefined. So we're looking for clarity on that as well, but we're thinking that it's referring to more soft private and government services and programs as they relate to housing. Conservation authorities on watershed planning, identifying and managing development within the natural hazard areas. school boards, childcare providers, and also Indigenous communities for early identification of their interests and potential impacts on their treaty rights. So the 2024 PPS also references potential transition regulation and guidance policies. So right now on the registry, feedback is being sought by the province from municipalities until October the 4th. So about any planning matters that are currently in process that should be addressed through a transition regulation. And then some of the provincial guidance policies, specifically the agricultural one, because staff did ask that question. MMAH has confirmed that it is a priority, so we should likely have something more with next year. And that's summary of the PPS and overview. So it looks considerably different than the one that we were working with from 2020, and even prior to that, it looks considerably different because there has been quite a bit of consolidation, and it's very apparent from the materials and the various areas and changes that have been included that there is the focus is really on increased housing and removing some barriers to facilitate that.
Thank you, Marie. Sure, you don't want to tell us anything more? Any questions from council?
I just have two things. One, I just wanted to point out that included in the PPS 2024 under healthy, integrated and viable rural areas to be supported by, it notes, conserving biodiversity, considering the ecological benefits provided by nature. And directing development in rural settlement areas, consideration should be given to locally appropriate rural characteristics. I have never seen that applied in any application to date, so hopefully we take those things more seriously. So that was one note. When it came to adding electricity and that to agricultural, did that include renewable energy?
I'd have to go back and look at the definition.
My concern with that is that it doesn't include renewable energy. It's officially put in a PPS. It kind of, to me, I'm thinking mutes the point of the if the PPS supersedes municipal interests.
Listening, yes, overrides the willing host, which was given back to us after they removed the green energy.
Right, and then this kind of just takes it all away. If renewable energy is in that.
I think that takes some digging into, but Maria does have her hand up.
Yes, through your worship. So that's a very good question. Bill 185 made it very clear that it was municipalities had authority over those issues. So
Well, they had authority to say whether they want them in their communities or not. But if PPS has now put in a definition of what's out on a farm property, that's a big concern. Because that would supersede a municipal interest.
we can certainly ask the question. However, I think before we have a discussion about whether the municipalities' rights would be superseded, bless you, In that case, I think there would be a lot more that would need to be done, in terms of. There would be a justification report. We would be looking at a number of different factors, so.
We've been down that road before. So we know how this works. So
Certainly.
that's why it's a big concern, and I'd really like to know if you could find that out, maybe bring it back to council. Send it out. If renewable energy is in fact part of the.
Given the history of renewable energy and the municipality and our previous motion designating us as an unwilling host, I think it would be appropriate in a very brief follow-up that Ms. Casarasi could touch on that and see if there is any effect to our status as an unwilling host, and whether or not that makes it easier for green energy companies to bring in proposals. I don't know if she'll have the information.
But it's good to know.
Indeed.
And one final, just quickly, I don't know if you did mention it because wetlands, encroachment on wetlands reduced from 120 to 30, is that correct? 120 to 30 meters for wetlands. You can encroach a lot closer to wetlands now.
I'd have to go back and check.
Okay.
I tried to condense the information as best as possible, but certainly if you'd like me to come back with that confirmation, I can.
I think that's important to know as well. And if it affects significant forested areas as well.
The PPS strengthens the collaboration efforts between the municipality and the, working with the Conservation Authority on those issues. So
where I read it in my Conservation Authority meeting, they did reduce it from 120 to 30. Thank you.
Okay, so you're going to follow up with some things that you want to know about?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
So I think the question in regard to wetlands, we can address briefly through an email. It's a relatively minor issue. Given the public interest in renewable energy in Plympton-Wyoming, I would suggest that Maria could bring back a short staff report just clarifying the effects of the updated PPS on renewable energy applications.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So, the report might not be forthcoming till closer to the end of the year.
I understand that there's notable planning agendas coming forth, and that is resources pending, of course.
So can you answer only one severance per farm consolidation, right? Correct. So if two farms have been consolidated and then they get a third one, do they still get an allowance? They've already had one then, right? With the farm consolidation. So with the third consolidation, they wouldn't get one. Am I correct?
Correct, because the definition of consolidation is actually plural. So it doesn't matter the number. You could have, this is the question that staff had posed, just to be 200% clear. It was posed in writing generally, and then the specific question was asked verbally. So if we have a farmer that has a consolidation of 10 farms and each one of the farms has a dwelling on it, how many are they permitted to sever? And the answer was 1.
Okay.
And that's because, and actually from the draft, it went from a surplus farm dwelling severance to 1. And then the language for the farm consolidation itself, it says per farm consolidation. So the farm consolidation is a number of parcels consolidated.
Yes, go ahead.
Just to point out the provincial loophole, though, if a farm corporation owned 10 farms and each of 2 farms was under a separate Ontario number, that would be a separate applicant with a separate owner, and therefore you could have 5 surplus farm dwellings because they're all separate legal entities.
That is a question that will be posed to the ministry when we meet them in November.
Thank you.
But you could also, if you're planning to consolidate, just declare a surplus farm dwelling before you consolidate.
You're to buy additional lands potentially, and sell those off, but
That's a loophole.
There's a lot of loopholes that I think the planners throughout Ontario will be looking for clarifications on. But the province has not provided great direction regardless of it did.
So I still have to make this remark, which I've been teaching for 20 years, that, you know, the poor farmer who has been living and farming his farm for years and years and years and years, he can't sever his land. And so he loses the potential to have any kind of profit. It just drives me nuts, but anyway, I had to say it and I won't get anywhere with it. Bye. Moved by Rodriguez, second by Wolvette, that the information report by Maria Kosarasi, Senior Planner dated September 11, 2024, providing an overview of the 2024 Provincial Planning Statement be received. All in favor? Carried. Let's home at 7:30.
Yeah.
And we have a delegation who's been sitting here patiently. Well, see?
He's due at 7:30.
Yeah, so what, will you have a break now till, or what, I can
Nope.
keep going, can't I?
Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah,
One of the parties of the delegation is here and one of the parties is online. So we were
Oh.
keeping an eye to make sure he was online. He's here 3 minutes early. There's no time requirement for us to wait till 7:30.
I see.
So now that Mr. Ferrer is here, you can.
I think I'm unconfused.
You have to speak with the guy on the computer
Yeah.
first.
Where is he?
Where is he?
It's Renzo Ferreira.
Yes, you're Mr. DeAndrea.
Yes, ma'am.
Renzo,
And
can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, shall I start?
yes, go ahead.
I'd like to start by just thanking everyone on staff and council for giving me this opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm out of country and this platform has allowed me to state some concerns. I'd like to read some notes and then I'd like to have Mr. John DeAndrea speak to this as well. May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
So let's give you some background. I'm the owner of lot 26 on the development of Lakeshore and Egremont on that corner. I purchased the lot in 2022. And there's been some numerous delays in development. For whatever reasons, I don't know. I think we've all seen that. I contacted the municipality in late spring of 2023 regarding the delay and what, if anything, was known about the anticipated completion. The response was that the overseeing engineering consultants on the matter had advised them that the development was near completion. My last conversation with the municipality took place in the spring of 2024, resulted in a response that there has been numerous complaints about the conditions of the development site, being an eyesore, overgrown vegetation, piled backfill and materials. And I was able to visit the site prior to having to come over out of country, I should say, sorry. And the last visit I made, the site indicates that nothing really has changed. There appears to be no final grading, no surveyor bars indicating lot separations, an overgrowth of vegetation, and the emergency generator enclosure, I don't believe, has been installed yet either. At this time, I have no indication as to the completion of the utilities, and from my understanding of the building permits continue to be unavailable. I continue to pay taxes on the property. While I understand they're reduced taxes, but I continue to pay taxes on the property while not being able to utilize it as owned. And I continue to pay insurance because obviously it's the right thing to do to have on a empty or vacant property. This having been said, I've asked Mr. DeAndrea to speak on my behalf of his knowledge as a successful residential developer for over 50 years in Lambton County. And in particular, I've asked John to focus on the subject of reasonable expectation of completion on such developments. And after John has spoken, I'd like to make some closing comments if that's possible, please.
Sure, we'll listen to Mr. DeAndrea now.
Thank you very much. First of all, I have not had the opportunity to speak with Renzo for about a week because he's been out of the country. And so I did my own due diligence and I was hoping, because he's covered most of everything I was going to discuss anyway. So I was hoping, is there somebody here from either engineering or planning that I could just direct a question to?
Yes.
Please.
And yes, what might be easier is, because I think I know where the questions are going. I can confirm and Aaron can confirm that the grass has been cut. Our bylaw enforcement officers have been in contact. And the grass has been cut. And I'd like to ask Mr. De Silva to give an update on the status of the subdivision construction itself. I understand Public Works has been working with the consultant engineer to oversee the servicing of the project.
This is the gentleman.
This is Mr. Paul De Silva. He's our.
Had the opportunity and Mr. Ferrera isn't even aware of it. First of all, I want to give full disclosure. I have absolutely nothing to do with that development. I do not own it. I did not develop it. And I was not the contractor. So having said that, I'm a friend of Mr. Ferrera's and I'm here only on his behalf. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a friend. So having said that, I had the privilege, because of being involved for so many years in this field, I know every one of them, the contractor, the developer, and the engineering firm. So this week, while he was away, knowing I had to do this meeting here this evening, I took the liberty of contacting each one of them. And I just wanted to ask you, I was led to believe this week that there's many of the issues have been resolved and it's just subject to some inspections. Is this true or am I being misled?
Through your worship,
I'm sorry.
I don't believe you're being entirely misled, but I would confirm that there's some significant deficiencies that still have to be completed. And
Significant as in
sewer repairs, grading, like you had mentioned, pavement repairs, curb repairs. We're meeting
the
with the
curb
engineer.
repairs, that's usually covered under the 2-year maintenance plan, not?
Correct, it is, but there's the some of the pavements already starting to fail. So we'll want the base repaired, or else it's just gonna continuously get worse. But yeah, there's a lot of underground repairs that need to be completed because the subdivision sat around so long. We asked them to perform camera inspections on the sewers a second
Most
time,
definitely.
and that yielded some additional issues.
Was not aware of that. That was not disclosed to me this week, but when Renzo first approached me, only because of the knowledge that he seems to think I have regarding this industry, he asked me, he says, John, how long does a job like this take? I says, 29 lots. Usually if I'm giving out a contract, I'm going to allow 80 to 90 working days. With weekends and rain days, say 4 months, it's done. This has been 2 to 3 years. And again, not to disrespect Kevin Backus, who's another personal friend of mine, but he's a developer. And I said to Kev, I said, like, come on. It doesn't take 2 years to put in 29 lots. It's a 3 to 4 months job. Here we are 2 years later. My other friend, Mr. Ferrera, had bought and closed and purchased, paid for this lot against my advice because the permits weren't issued, the servicing wasn't done. I said, don't give him the money until it's done. He went ahead, he has owned it, paid for it, everything. And he still can't do anything with it. He's had plans that I've worked with him on and looked at for the last 2 years. He can't even get a building permit to build it. So that's why I'm here tonight. I'm not trying to stir up any shit. As a matter of fact, I was trying to remedy the situation because as I said, I know everybody involved here, but I was maybe again misled because I was told by Mr. Backus's liaison in the field. I went actually there and walked it with him. He showed me what they did. They did make some repairs to some what appeared to be water lines, but I'm not sure what it is that the camera showed because I haven't seen it. So I don't know what to say. I was going to do a bit more of a presentation, but the Lions are playing at 8:30. And Mr. Ferrera has also pretty much covered everything. So all I was going to mention is the one thing that us developers fear the most from a municipality is an irrevocable letter of credit, which they demand, and I'm sure you received from the developer to assure that the work is complete.
Another one to assure there's no liens on the municipal road, which they have donated to you, and it's now your land. And another one for the guarantee of the 2-year maintenance period that the work is gonna all be complete for that. So there's a lot of irrevocable letters of credit. The biggest fear as a developer is municipality cashing one of those. Because we're not talking 10 grand, we're talking usually hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're not prepared to at least get from this developer and or contractor a commitment that at the end of October, we will have all of this remedied. If they don't have a deficiency list, they should have it. If this is remedied, you're good. If not, we have some, we call them LCs. We have some LCs here that we might be cashing. And for a few $100,000, $300-400 grand, I'm pretty sure you guys can clean that stuff up pretty quickly. You don't have to wait another 2 years. And the other thing is, if you don't, which I was told by Mr. Ferrera that the municipality had no intention of cashing a letter of credit, why ask for them? And what precedents are you setting for future developers to do the same thing? You take a 29 lot project and extend it 3 years when it should have been done in 3 months. That's all I got to say. As I said, full disclosure, I got nothing to do with this, but he's a friend of mine. Kevin's a friend of mine. Oliver Gauthier is a friend of mine, the contractor, and we can't find him right now, so that's it. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Mr. De Silva, can you answer any of these questions?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm gonna try and start from the beginning. So since my arrival, I was told that subdivision had sat around for a little while. At the time, so let's say through the winter, early this spring, I was not aware that the lots had been sold or that any had been sold. So in my view, the developer not finishing was his issue and his issue alone. Once we became aware, when Mr. Ferrera reached out and said, hey, listen, I bought a lot here and the servicing isn't done and you guys haven't accepted the work. That's when I reached out to the consultant and I said, this is one of the more irregular things I've seen in my career, that a developer would put out this amount of money and not finish and sell lots. And so that kind of set the ball rolling. And now we're fully committed to working with the consultant and contractor to get this thing completed, to the point where I have a meeting with them on site on Friday to go over all of the outstanding deficiencies.
I was there last Friday.
Okay.
But were you meeting with Phil?
And meeting with the engineer.
Oh,
Devin.
Devin? Yeah, I like I said, I have no idea where the mess up came from. Obviously, the contractor had issues. Don't know what Devin has done from NIG. And who is the site supervisor, I don't know. Like I said, I'm only here to try and help my friend Renzo Ferrera. He can build his house that he's been bugging me for 3 years, that he's drawn and plans made. And the only reason he came to me was not because of anything other than we were friends and he knew that I knew a little bit about that stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrera.
DeAndre.
I mean, DeAndre, Mr. Ferrera.
Now, Mr. Ferrera has told me to tell you that he wants to give you closing remarks.
Right.
And I'm debating on whether I should sit and listen to it or leave to go to my football game. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you if you want to give some closing remarks and not too much.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't wish any ill harm to anyone, right? I'm just asking for the municipality to take some action. You know, I don't want to find ourselves here in 2025 and we're still dealing with this. I'd like to see a reasonable schedule agreement for completion. I think that's something the municipality wants, regardless of what I would like to see. And I know you've got provisions in the contract and I don't want to put any pressure on anybody. I just like to get on with it. I want to be part of Plympton, Wyoming, right? I wanted to join this community. I chose this community, this location, because I want to be, but I'm having doubts, right? Because the more I delay, the more cost I've got. We all know that the cost of construction is going up. And not only that, through the whole process of submitting the drawings, getting permits, and then moving forward. So I want to thank you for giving me this this opportunity to come here. And I want to thank John for representing me there. But I'm really asking to see some conclusion and closure.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. De Silva is trying to get on top of things. And hopefully we can, come to some kind of conclusion. If we had enough reason to cash a letter of credit, then explain this to me once.
Yeah, the letter of credit is in the name of the municipality. It's essentially an insurance policy that we can draw upon without justification. We generally we do collect them with every development agreement. But usually that's only when all attempts have been frustrated. So if the developer is non-responsive, if their engineer is non-responsive, we would consider them in default of their contract, and then we drop on the LC. Currently, they are working towards a resolution. If that work stopped, then we would look at drawing upon that letter of credit. Now, that's a legal process. It is a contract between ourselves and developer. Mr. FERRERA and Mr. FERRERA has a contract with the same developer, so it is a matter which we have to be mindful of.
Those letters of credit are irrevocable.
Yes, I know
We
that.
submit them to a municipality. We cannot revoke them. They're out there and they're against the personal developer's line of credit. And they can't be, the only people that can cash it is the municipality. And so it's an irrevocable, you still got them, they're good.
Yes, sir.
Same as CIF, cash and fist, right?
Just like that.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Do you mind if I leave?
I don't mind if you leave. Mr. Ferrera, do you mind if you us?
No, you better let him go. We don't want him to miss.
John.
He's the Lions fan. I'm the Seahawks fan. So we both have a game to watch. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Good night. Mr. De Silva, you know what you're doing, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So now we're back to
6.1.
but we're going backwards tonight. 6.1. County of Lambton decision and conditions relating to draft plan of subdivision application for 3096 Lakeshore Road. That the report by Adam Szymanski, CAO, dated September 25, 2024, regarding the County of Lambton's decision. This is the motion, right?
Yeah, you're reading the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Decision and conditions regarding draft plan of subdivision application for 3096 Lakeshore Road be received, and that council directs staff to appeal the County of Lambton decision in regards to draft plan of subdivision 38T 24001 to the Ontario Land Tribunal to ensure councils and the community concerns are addressed, and request that County of Lambton Council delegates draft plan of subdivision and draft plan of condominium approval authority to Town of Plympton-Wyoming instead of county staff, as has been done for City of Sarnia and the municipality of Lambton Shores. That was moved by Mr. Bougen and seconded by Mr. Wolvett. As council, are there any questions or discussion on this? Mr. Bougen.
I'll keep it brief in light of the fact that the motion on the table is to appeal. But I just want to make it clear that my opinion is the same as it was last time we talked about this. But I'm probably even more passionate about my opinion of the Lakeshore access after seeing the county's justification. I think the process made a mockery of the public's voice and of this council. You have widespread concern, cohesive input from the public, backed by a unanimous direction by this council. And then you would think there'd be an appetite from the county to continue that collaboration with both levels of government, and that came to a complete stop. As a council, we're local representatives for the community. We were essentially boxed out from discussions with the county or the applicant. For all we know, there could have been passed forward with the applicant, with us, with the county. But the decision-making process went entirely internal, away from the members of this council and the public. And to me, that process was broken. So I support the motion as written to appeal the decision, specifically the decision not to have the Lakeshore Road access. And I just wanted to make that clear.
Well said. Anyone else want to make any comments? Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you. I would actually request that Lambton County delegates draft plan of subdivision to the town. I think that needs its entire staff report to understand why the it's not that I'm against it. I just think it needs more fulsome discussion and understanding. I believe the planning services are a shared resource through the county, kind of why out of county. And
Answer the first question first. So they're shared resources, but the county, so when our planners are reviewing draft plan, they're acting on the behalf of the county of Lambton, because the approval authority for plans of subdivision sits within upper tier. The upper tier has the authority under any legislation to delegate that authority. In the circumstances for most of county of Lambton municipalities, they have delegated that approval authority to their planning department manager. But for two municipalities, Sarnia and Lambton Shores, that approval authority has been delegated to their council. It is my understanding that they do not pay any additional fees for that delegation of services, because planning services are not by our service, such as the chief building official is, by law enforcement is, etc. It is a levy service. So it is paid for through fees, which are collected, and is paid for through the general levy, which every county in Lambton pays into through their property taxes. So it's my understanding that it would not affect what we pay into that, because it's already established. Instead of those employees working on behalf of the approval authority, who is the county of Lambton currently, they would be working on behalf of the town of Plympton-Wyoming council. The same as that's done on a zoning bylaw or official plan amendment as we sit now. They can work on a county official plan amendment as county employees, and then they work on our behalf as town employees when they're working on a town official plan amendment. That process would not change. It would remain the same.
I appreciate all that. And that's why it would be nice to have that all documented in a staff report in a more fulsome way, so that it's just documented. Good public understanding and counsel. Shoot. In this particular case, finding it with this particular item that's recommended to be appealed because the county has denied access to Lakeshore Road. Whether that was delegated through us or through county, it's still county's road and still would have required county's permission. So in that context, I don't want the public to have the misconception that this would have changed things in this document necessarily, because it wasn't within our authority on that county road. So I just like things to be clear and
so
not misguiding.
to be clear, I've written this staff report in the lens that I felt as the staff member who negotiated with the county, who met with the developer, who went through the process, that it was clear that the county, as the draft plan approval authority, was not looking at the community's best interest in this circumstance and at this council's. If council had that authority, it would be town staff and town council leading those discussions. And we would have the opportunity to decide whether or not something was worth fighting for, or whether or not it was something that we should step away from. That decision was taken away from our hands in this situation, and we did not even get the opportunity to have that discussion This has been something that has been discussed internally for a number of years, that the fact that Lambton Shores and the City of Sarnia both have delegated authority, which gives their council a better ability to incorporate the concerns of the public and to a better ability for them to decide how to move forward on certain items and decide what to fight. If council as a whole wishes to remove that portion of my request to receive a fulsome report, that is your choice, and I'd gladly prepare it. But given the evidence before you and how the county matter, it became obvious to me that the system did not represent the best interests of the town of Plympton-Wyoming and its community, and hence why my motion and recommendation was strong in its manner. If council feels that this specifically second portion of my recommendation is too strong or would like further clarification, I have no issues preparing a report at a future planning meeting and asking to move it into secondaries to remove that motion, at least that portion of the motion. But again, given the breakdown of how that decision should have been made, given the fact that the town's councils and the community's opinions and concerns were not heard, I felt that it was imperative to make this motion, as I feel that the system as it sits today does not keep the town of Plympton-Wyoming's interest first.
And I completely do not disagree with what you are saying about the reasoning why necessitating taking this move. It's not about that at all. It's about combining it with a subject matter that's completely separate. It's regarding an appeal. And the fact that it should stand on its own as a strong statement of what and not be lost in this document.
I appreciate it. I felt that my second recommendation supported how upset council and the community were in regards to the decision and further punctuated the lack of consideration in this regard. But again, I wrote it from that standpoint. If council as a whole feels that they would like to separate the two items, I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, so how does the rest of council feel about this? John? Then Clyburn.
Well, I appreciate your input there. I'm certainly comfortable as the report as it stands. And I can't help but echo what Councillor Bojan said in regards to community involvement. I believe our last meeting was in June. And it was quite clear where our residents were, that neighborhood, where council stood, and to not have any of that taken into account at the county level is unfortunate. So I certainly support the appeal.
Anyone else? Well, we've heard from Mr. Bowden. Don't know.
Well, my stance is exactly the same as Alex's. They've taken all the authority away from us, and here we are sitting here our evening debating this thing where the county has all the authority to do what they want. So why even bother to bring this stuff to us if we're not going to have any say in it and they can overrule us? And even for one person to overrule us in the county, won't mention any names, but that's the way it was dealt with. The committee, I don't believe county council would have had anything to do with this whatsoever. This is our responsibility. The people are our responsibility. We're the elected officials in this community. And even the traffic studies there that talked about it way back when and the newest one, you know, it confuses all kinds of things on Lakeshore Road. And I got to tell you, the county better come to realization that Lakeshore Road is almost within the community. It's not a rural road or a rural highway. It's now all subdivisions along there. And, you know, all kinds of access, egresses onto that Lakeshore Road. So I don't see where this should have been a big deal for the county to approve it, to have an access and an egress from two different roads. Egremont Road is getting certainly all kinds of traffic from all the other subdivisions. So this is a very legitimate request. It's not some phony thing that we just picked out of the air. So I'm all in favor of leaving this like it is and and appeal it and do what we can.
And you feel that
I feel both should be in it. Absolutely, absolutely.
So if I may?
Yeah.
I just want to say that when you're making such a big change like that, do you not want it to be separated and accentuated and have its own standing instead of being lost in an appeal? I think it's a big change. I think it's an important change, one that should stand out historically, going back, looking at something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Being
no,
able to
but
refer to it on its
I
own.
don't, I think it is separate. In
No,
my
it's in
mind.
one motion with.
It is in one motion, but it's two separate issues.
In one
So-
motion. with an
Yeah,
appeal.
but in one motion.
That's all. That's all.
So I think,
Don't forget.
I would want to be more,
Yes.
I would just want it to stand out more.
okay, is Mr. Fazy want to say something or? Cause I can't see him.
Yes, hello. Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't really care if it's a separate motion or two motions. We just need the motions to move forward and get this done. I think it's a cop-out on the county side of things that they're using our money to do the appeal when they should be doing it themselves. So that's all.
So there's one item that Councilor Rodriguez brought up that I think I should clarify a bit better, and it was regard to the county granting the road. I feel that the county worded the decision the way they did more from a planning lens from a road authority lens. If the council had the authority to ensure that there's connectivity, to ensure that there's a connection to Lakeshore Road, they would, and therefore the draft land approval process authority, they would have been able to mitigate the concerns of the county of Lambton, which would have encouraged them to grant us that access. I think another contributing factor is, as it sits today, them as the approval authority would be the lead at the OLT if this, if an appeal was made by the developer. Where if the town was delegated the approval authority, we would be the lead. So we would be the ones deciding, and therefore I think the county would be more willing to grant us the access to Lakeshore Road, knowing that we would be the one making the planning fight, not themselves. So I just wanted to make sure that all Councilor Rodriguez's questions were answered.
And you don't feel that you feel that these two subjects are okay under one motion?
Yes,
Or
because
was
they're
it-
totally different directions. They're in one motion. So Councilor Rodriguez has a point that you can look at it two ways. You could look at it to have two separate motions, so that they're both equally important and stand on their own. I made the recommendation in this manner to punctuate the fact of council's displeasure and the community's displeasure with the decision of the county of Lambton. So whether they're approved separately and the second motion is approved after another staff report, I have no objection. Again, I wrote the initial staff report in that manner to punctuate the fact that to punctuate our displeasure. And this is not the first draft of plan of subdivision that council has been upset with. The approval authority of the county of Lambton has struggled to represent this council's opinion for a number of years now. And again, this is a topic that internally we have discussed numerous times. And by way of the county decision, we felt that we could no longer sit on the thought. It had to become at least something up for discussion. And by punctuating the recommendation, I felt was a great way. I'm not married to having it exactly as it is, but I do feel passing the motion the way it does hits a little bit harder.
Okay. Call for the. Is everyone in favor? Carried.
Make that hand up.
Thank you.
You can see between John and
Can you
Bob.
see? You can't see. Okay, so it's carried. Thank you. All right, so we're down to bylaws. No items at this time. Correspondence.
None.
No items.
Fair action required.
Madam Deputy Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to excuse myself from the rest of the meeting.
All right.
All right,
Are you not feeling well?
not at all.
Well, good luck.
Thank you for staying home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Aaron says thank you for staying home.
Yeah, well, anyway, bye.
Bye.
Excuse me,
Yeah, sir.
ask some questions about.
No, I don't mind at all. We should be giving you some time, sure.
I'll keep it brief. I guess I looked at the the statement that Corinne distributed and got a copy of it. And the county is really hanging their hat on their official plan regarding 7.1.7. New access to county roads will be discouraged where development sites have suitable access to the local road system in order to preserve the traffic carrying capacity and safety of county roads. As part of their goal of the official plan, it's to can ensure the continued provision of safe, efficient, and high-quality network of roads that primarily meet the needs of traffic with origins and destinations within the county. The Sundance subdivision is within the county. They, from my opinion, what the county is doing is they're protecting that road from having any additional traffic on it in consideration there might be other subdivisions in the future. So they want to protect the capacity. That does nothing to protect the safety and the capacity of Egremont. It's what's good for them should be good for us on Egremont. And if the capacity of Lakeshore Road in the future, as other developments come along, is compromised, there's very simple ways to mitigate that. They've even, within the traffic study is simply movement of traffic. It has nothing to do with safety. Which is likely the most paramount reason most of us are concerned about that additional traffic onto Egremont. And as someone who uses Egremont, that I personally, they reference safe in their goals with their road network. I will feel less safe because I run and I cycle on Egremont to get to the Howard Watson Trail. They're protecting the safety of Lakeshore Road, but they're not doing anything for Egremont, which I find it's, they're looking after their own, but we're all we all pay taxes to the county. And so our concerns should have more of a priority. And it's generous that the county, also when you go into further into their road network, they reference under 7.3.7, the county supports the development of the waterfront trail through Lambton County. The waterfront trail comes across Egremont to Mandamin, goes south of Mandamin, and then goes east on Lakeshore Road. They just resurfaced Lakeshore Road, had every opportunity to put bike lanes on both sides of that road, but did nothing to enhance that. When you look at the traffic study, there were no cyclists who went down Lakeshore Road. They all come across Egremont. And like the Grand Fondo, which is held in August, is like the 6th rated Grand Fondo in North America. And 1,300 cyclists come out to enjoy that. And they just want to put more traffic onto Egremont without thinking through what it means to the residents of Egremont, what it'll mean to the residents of Sundance. It's just, they had that opportunity to put big bike lanes on Lakeshore Road. It's in their goals as well. They ignored those goals. My wife and I were recently in Oxford Township near Tavistock. They just put in a new road, bike lanes on both sides of it. And I sent an email today and I had some pictures with that. But for them to put that in the official plan and pick and choose which policies they're actually going to follow for their, you can look into the future, but there's ways to manage the future. The future, to define it now and say we're not going to do anything to make things better, to me it's ridiculous. Okay.
Could we get your name and address for the record, please, and thank you?
It's John Simpson. I registered.
Yeah, we've got him on.
So gauging my response, because we are now in an appeal situation, council and staff agree that there's many concerns and agrees with many of those concerns that you brought up. And we are definitely going to endeavor to represent those concerns as best as we can. We appreciate the concerns of the community. We've had much correspondence with yourself and much others in the community, and we will be doing our best to represent those concerns.
Anyone else want to speak quickly or? Anyone want to speak? We'll put that to rest for this evening. Next motion is moved by John Van Claveren, seconded by Bob Lovett. Correspondence items A to J relating to recommended reading and routine approval and information items not otherwise addressed by resolution be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. Anyone have issues with anything? Everyone in favor? Oh my goodness. Carried. New business. No. Yeah. Hey, new business, Mr. Wilbert?
No, Madam.
Okay. Mr. Van Claveren? Sergeant?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez? Oh, dear. Okay, go ahead.
So in light of kind of how this particular Sundance was released to certain members of the public and not council. It was disconcerting, and even for the public to say, how come I know and you don't know? But it goes back to different methods of communication where sometimes the public finds out. So I'd really like a commitment to work on disseminating information at the same time you are to the public, to council on any issues, even if it is something coming down from county on whatever. You know, but anything. I just think it would be nice to.
I actually agree 100% in this situation. The county of Lambton failed us greatly on this one. So what occurred is their process for sending out decisions, they send out a decision to the municipal clerk and they send out a decision to the applicant and then anyone who registered to receive the decision. We received the decision around 4 o'clock in one afternoon. Our clerk was disposed on other matters, and we did not actually see the decision until 9 o'clock in the morning when we got into our emails that day. The unfortunate fact of the matter is that because they only emailed it to one individual from the town, that all the members of the public saw it first, and they contacted council. The mayor and I sat down with the warden, the CAO, and the planning staff at the County of Lambton and expressed our displeasure not only for the decision that was made, but how the decision was released. A decision which is known to be contentious, which is known to have much public interest, should be disclosed in such a manner that ensures that municipal staff have an opportunity to get that information immediately to council. I cannot direct county staff on who they disseminate that information to. They have their own policies and procedures. So that would be a direction from their managers and county council. But I agree how this was communicated to council and to the public was inappropriate in the situation and is not acceptable. And I do not want to see that happen again. And there will need to be ongoing discussions with the county staff about how that information is disseminated to the public and council moving forward to ensure that council is getting the information at minimum at the same time that the public is. Yeah, I appreciate the critique and it's valued.
Point of clarification. Are you sure it's only one person at the town got the email?
That's what I saw when I got it.
Just curious. That's all.
Other information?
I would like that personally, so I can act on it if it is a staff matter. Thank you.
I guess my question, Mr. Sabansky, who is your employee? Or who is your employer? You were on the email.
After the fact.
Aaron was on the email, you're on the email. Randy, I'm not sure who she works for, depends on the day. Mackenzie, who's your employer? On the email. I mean, I'll send it to all the council tonight. It's all good. Just for point of clarification.
I've already sent it to the council. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Zanting.
Mr. Zanting. We're still on new business? I thought we were done.
I don't
Any
think
more?
we've gone that way.
Not for me.
Did you, Mr. Broughton? Well, then we're all done with new business. No, I don't have any business. I mind my own business, but Maria, it looks like Maria wants to have something about new business. What's
Oh,
going on,
she does,
Maria?
I forgot.
Your worship, there is since the preparing and submitting of reports, there is something new that's been posted on the registry. So when we had the presentation for Bill 185, staff had discussed the fact that some ministers' regulations may be coming out as it related to certain issues in the Planning Act. So there has been a draft prepared, a minister's regulation for additional residential units that I thought would be appropriate to advise council. That something has been put out for comment. So what's being proposed in this minister's regulation for additional residential units is that province-wide application for parcels of land where residential uses are permitted in settlement areas with full services, municipal water and sewage services, except for in this case would be legal non-conforming uses in existing houses on hazard limits. So, and this is not applicable to rural areas or settlement areas without municipal servicing. The framework and the standards are discretionary for rural areas, land on partial or private servicing. So that will be something that would be at the discretion more of the municipalities in the rural areas. So the proposed content of this minister's regulation is that it will require a minimum 45% lot coverage for all buildings and structures on parcels with additional residential units. That is an increase currently to the standards and regulations that we have in place. It will override lot size and lot area requirements specific to parcels with ARUs. It will reduce minimum building distance separation to a maximum of 4 meters. It's not applicable here because our minimum is 1.2 meters. So this just puts a cap to 4 meters. It will also override angular plane. To my knowledge, there's only one municipality in the county that's considering inclusion of angular plane in their comprehensive zoning bylaw, and that's the city of Sarnia. No other municipality has this provision, and Plympton-Wyoming does not either. So this is a provision where in the bylaws, and usually in the larger cities, it's to preserve key views or access to sunlight and sun penetration and balance privacy where mid and high-rise developments are proposed within or adjacent to existing low-rise residential neighborhoods and heritage districts as examples. And then the other provision is overriding floor space index, which has to do with gross floor areas based on lot size. There's a calculation for that. So this is out for comment. I believe that the comment period ends October 23rd. But this is what the minister's regulation is proposing in terms of additional residential units. And just as a final note, I just wanted to address 2 points that you had, Councillor Rodriguez, if that's all right. I had a quick look at the PPS 2020, compared it to the 2024. So the policies as they relate to energy supply and to natural heritage and wetlands, there's been no change to those areas. Specifically for energy supply, the language there is specifically should, which is used in terms of to give suggestion or advice. Rather than in contrast the word shall, which denotes a minimum requirement to conform. So the energy supply policies in the 2024 just indicate should provide opportunities. So it's not mandatory as the word shall normally is. So I just wanted to, since I had time to review that, I just wanted to provide, and I couldn't find any references to specific distance requirements for wetlands in the PPS 2020. Oh, all right.
Because I remembered it was on our conservation authority. But it was more to the point of renewable energy.
And
still didn't find them.
The energy supply talks about renewable energy, but it's the language is coached, the word that specifically is used is should, which is more of a suggestion advice, where as opposed to shall would have been something that required conformity.
Okay, so
there's discretion there.
but it is defined in there. Okay,
Okay. Are we done with new business? No one else?
I do want
Oh,
to
dear.
address something. Ms. Nanting is right. I did receive the email. I was in fire budget discussions, developing the budget, and then I went into the ice rink committee meeting. I missed it. I apologize. As soon as if I had seen it, I would have forwarded the council. Yes, there were the other staff members on there. I don't know what they were doing at the time. And that's not a matter to be discussed in open discussion. But I agree. Second we got that, we should have sent it out. And I apologize that we missed that. That was our fault. If multiple staff received it, that communication should have been sent out to all the council immediately to ensure that you had the same information the public does. So for that, I apologize.
Okay, so that's explained. And onward we go. So we're gonna get our correspondence immediately from now on, right?
That's efforts to do so, ma'am.
Thank you. Else? Okay, moved by Mr. Bougen, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez, that bylaw 122 of 2024 being a bylaw. Confirm all resolutions of the council meetings held September 30th, 2024 be taken as read 3 times. Finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All agree? Thank you. Carried. Moved by Rogers. And by motion that the regular planning meeting be adjourned until the next regular planning meeting on Monday, October 28th, 2024. You all in favor? Oh, thank you. All done. Carried. Sit, folks.